Hello and welcome to my next tutorial. Today we're going to be making an awesome ruler. That's right, a ruler. It's actually slightly complicated, so please pay attention. We're going to start off with a triangle, pyramid, I don't know what you call it, but it's this green one right here. So I'm going to drag it over. Now, this is probably going to be the first time that we really focus on where we drag it over. So let's zoom in here. Okay, so hopefully you can see these lines on the bed or the work plane. One of them is slightly thicker than the rest. Our goal is to get that corner aligned with that corner. So let's go ahead and get started and move it over a little bit. My snap grid is off. I recommend that right now, but we're going to be playing with the snap grid a lot. So let's get comfortable with it. Look over here. As you can see, it is not exactly there. So I'm going to use the arrow key to nudge it slightly. There you go. And there we go. All right, so there's that, okay? But that's just the beginning. Let's go ahead and make the measurements 40 and 100. 40 down here, and then 100 going up. Yeah. Do you notice I clicked here, so it went that way. I'm going to click here now, and it'll go up. All right. Not bad. Now what we're going to do is bring in one of these blocks. And we just want it to be bigger than the actual triangle here, or pyramid. Now I'm going to switch the snap grid to 1 millimeter. Now I'm going to hit Control and the up arrow on my keyboard. I always press the wrong one. Where did it go? Do you guys see it? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one here. So it's on my computer, it's Command. So I'm going to go Command, and for yours it's Control. If you're using a PC, I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3. And looks like it's covering everything, so we're good to go. I'm going to group these two. I'm going to select both and click on there. Okay, so we have that part. Not bad. Now this next part, you need to pay attention. So please pay attention. I'm going to be using the ruler tool. Now you see that little red circle? You want that to be in the corner perfectly. And now we have all this great information. Now, one of the reasons we're going to be using the ruler tool is because we have to be exact with our measurements. Otherwise, it's not a very good ruler. It's just pretty. So in this particular case, we're using millimeters first, just like on this side over here. And on this side, we'll do inches. Let's get started with, let's go ahead and bring a cube. And I'm going to copy this one here. So this one is the thickness of, looks like 125. So let's go ahead and do 125 on this one. Now, when you're using the ruler tool, all the measurements go further away than if you weren't using the ruler tool. So here, this is pointing up. I'm not sure if you can see that. Let's look around. See? The X and the Y. And then this one, the green, is how far it is from the center point. Yeah, it's kind of weird. The center from this one to the center point. Yeah, that's why it's there. Okay, so if you see the green ones, don't worry about it. We're not going to be using the green ones, but the blue ones, very important. I believe this was supposed to be 125. Is that right? The thickness, I don't think that's right. Let me click over here one more time. Yeah, that looks about right. Oh wait, that's the green. I'm looking at the green. I just told you guys not to look at the green. I have failed you. 0.5. That is much better. I'm going to click on here. 0.5. That is much better. Now the height. Which one of these numbers signifies the height? Can we even see that? we got to go further away. That's one of the things about the ruler tool. You do have to be aware of all the numbers and what they mean. Oh, that's the one I wanted right there. So the height is going to be, I believe it looks like 2.5. So I'm going to click here, click there, 2.5. And it's in midair. So I'm going to click the letter D, make it go down. Now, I know there's 6 millimeters in between these two, but before we do that, I want you to see something. I curved this, curved the edges on this particular one because it just looked too sharp when I was using it in the ruler without curving it. So let's look at the numbers here, 4.71 and 20. So let's change this to 4.71 and 20. Now you see that it curves right there. You see how it's curving that way? Unfortunately, it also curves right there and all the way around, which is why I'm using these blocks to shorten it so I can get just the parts that I want. So I'll just bring this here. And again, this is where we're going to use these blocks here. We want to have a space of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then one more 6. So we'll drag, duplicate that one, and then drag it to 6. Did I nail it? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. Nope, one more this way. That is 6. Now I'm going to group these two, and grouped. So now I'm going to focus on putting all these little lines here right there on the side. So I'm going to click the letter F to focus in here. This is where we take advantage of the lines on the floor of this work plane. And I'm going to take, I'm not sure. Let me think about this. If I move it over here, whoa, that skips a lot. So yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. I'm going to turn that off. And this is where it gets really important that you focus. Left, center, here we are. So this right here technically is the 1 millimeter line. So I'm going to move this over here. Now I want you to see that little black dot right there. And from this angle, it looks like it's centered, but to make sure it is, I'm going to click on left and focus right there. So now I can see that the center black line is aligned with this one right here. And this is 1 millimeter, so that means this line signifies the 1 millimeter line. Now, maybe you have an excellent printer and you can just print every 1 millimeter a line like this, but I've tried this on 3 different printers and they don't look good. So I'm going to skip this and I'm going to go 2 millimeters away. In fact, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I'm going to move this one to the second one. So I'm going to pay attention to this little black dot here, and then I'm going to make sure that it is, I'll go a little faster by hitting the shift button. It's off a little bit. Can you tell? I'm going to click again, left, and there. See how it's off? That black line is not over the blue one. I'm going to move it over a little bit right there. Now, if you do this next part correctly, everything else is going to be a breeze. Everything else. So I'm going to duplicate this. And that one that I duplicate, I want it to be blue all the time, meaning selected. If you click away anywhere else, it's going to be a lot of work for you. So make sure it stays blue. The copy stays blue. So I'm going to duplicate this. Control D. There it is. I duplicated it. And now I'm going to move it to right here. You see that? Right there. I'm going to hit the shift and arrow key so it goes a little bit faster. And it looks like it's right on there, but I'm going to focus, and yeah, that line is over that line. Now, mind you, it's still selected, so if this works out, I'm just going to duplicate, and it's going to keep on going. And look at that. So much easier. So much easier. Now, here's the thing. At the end, I need to check to see if these little red lines are actually aligned with the lines on the work plane, because I've done this several times, and if you're off by even a little bit, by the time it gets to the end, these red lines are no longer aligned. Kind of a big deal. All right, so we're good there. Now, mind you, each one of these represents a skip of 2, right? 2. But there's more. So all of these red lines, now pay attention to this. I'm going to select the ruler and the red lines, but I only want the red lines. So I'm going to hit Shift and click on the ruler. Now only the red ones are selected. I'm going to move them back by half. Now let's go by a quarter. So I'm going to use the arrow key to move them all. And that looks about right to me. All right, so there we go. We have part of it done. I'm going to move it back a little bit more. Okay, now what I want is the 10 millimeter mark or the centimeter. So we need 10. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. I'm going to move that one forward. 1, 2. Is 2 enough? I don't know. Oh, that's a gamble right there. So here's what I've noticed. When I printed this, if I went all the way to the edge with these lines, it would create a bump. And when using a ruler, you don't want a bump at the edge. You want it to be smooth. So this is a bit of a gamble. I think this is going to work out. So let's go to the next 10, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. That's fine. The next one, 1, 2, 3. Next one, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, almost there. 1, 2, 3. This one, 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure if you noticed, but this last one is actually sticking out a little bit. I'm not sure if I want it that way or not, but we'll deal with that later. Now, right now, this would be perfectly fine, but I'm not sure if you've noticed on the ruler how there's a shorter one, a longer one, a shorter one, and a longer one. The shorter one represents 5. Now, I'm debating, do I want to add a marker at the 5 mark, or do I just want to go on? I'm going to leave that up to you. If you want to, you could do something like this. I'm not going to do it, but this is something if you care that much about, you could. I'm going to duplicate that one, move it over a little. Now, I want to make sure it's aligned just like we did before. Only you don't want it to go forward, you want it to go back. Okay, so now you have a marker for every 5 millimeters as well. I don't know, I think it's kind of a big deal. So I'll just do it right now very quickly. I'm going to duplicate and shift. And if I do this correctly, it's going to just duplicate the rest on its own. So I'm going to move this forward. And let me just make sure it's aligned with that one. Oh no, it's a little bit further up. All right, that looks good. Now, because it's still selected, this should work all the way across. I'm just going to duplicate. Just see that it's working. I'm surprised, but it is working. Now, I've never done this. So if you print this, there's a small chance that little one can possibly break or ruin the rest. I don't know. Good luck with that one. All right, so let's put some numbers down. We're going to go to the text in the library. I'm going to change this to sans, and then I'm going to put 10 here, number 10. Obviously, this is way too big, but I already have one over here, so we can check this out. The measurement is a height of 3.5. So let's go ahead and make this 3.5. I'm going to click here, 3.5. Okay, we're good. Now the dimensions, 5.5. Let's just go here, 5.5. And then the height for this one is 4.2. I'm rounding, of course, 4.2. I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow key. Now, it's very important you put this in the right spot. So again, we're going to have to focus intently on this one. So I'm going to click the letter F on the keyboard just to get a close-up here. Brings us into focus, and this one here is the 10 mark. So I want you to notice we have these 4 blocks, and then we have the center white block, but it's these black ones in the middle that you need to focus on. So I'm going to make sure that it is aligned with the 10, and there it is, 10. Now I'm going to do something that's going to make it a lot easier. Well, first of all, is this all the way down? No. I'm going to click the letter D, make it go all the way down. There, now we can see it underneath. Perfect. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the same trick I did over here. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to hit the Shift and arrow key. I'm going to make sure that it's centered. Yeah. Now you're probably wondering, well, are you going to change that to 20 first? No. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit duplicate. It's a lot easier to just change the letters. Now this last one I'm not sure I'm going to keep, but it's a lot easier to just change the numbers inside of these numbers than to try to align each one. So that's why I would rather just duplicate. It's a trick, and you may not like it, but it saves you a lot of time. And honestly, when you're making these things, you want to save as much time as you want because you want to enjoy your tool or whatever you're making. So 5, then 6. Now we're at 70. Now I know I'm going to be using this with my students at the very beginning of the year next year, because this is going to help them understand how long certain things are. When they're trying to print something, like, well, how long is 100 millimeters? Well, that's a good question. Let's take out the ruler and let's see. I know I have some students that still ask me almost at the end of the year, how long is 20 millimeters? Well, you know, there should be something that tells you what it is. Well, we have something here. At this point, I'm going to take off this one here and that one. And hopefully the person who makes this realizes, oh, this thing was 100 millimeters. So it's going to be 100 on the way at the very top of it. So that's good. Now we're finished with this section. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to click on this and look what happens. Actually, let's put it over here so you can see. I'm going to click on this. Now it's changed directions. I'm going to click it again. And now it's changed directions again. Like it's measuring this side. And over here, it's measuring this side, and then over there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it to this corner, and then I'm going to click on it so I can see this. That's exactly what I want right there. Okay, so now I'm going to change the measurements, because now I don't want millimeters. I want it to be inches. And let's go ahead and go to our settings, and instead of millimeters, we're going to go to inches, and we're good to go there. You notice there's a lot more space in between the lines here. So I'm going to take this one, that one right there. I'm going to duplicate it, and then I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow. Whoa. And it comes over here. Now, I'm just going to move it. Oh, see, it's moving now in 1/8 increments. Wow. I'm going to turn that off. I also want to put it at the 1 inch mark, right around there. So I'm going to hit Shift. Actually, with this one, I'm going to do both like I did before. This is the 1/2 inch mark. And I'm going to duplicate that. Yeah, I don't really want it over here. Right around there. And let's zoom in, so make sure that it is accurate. And oh, I'm going the wrong direction. I'm just using the arrow key on the keyboard. And let me just make sure it's there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going, and by the way, I do want you to notice the inch is closer to the edge, and then the 1/2 inch is there. So I'm going to copy, or yeah, select both of them, duplicate with Control D, and I'm going to drag this over. Now the distance over here is fine. I just want to make sure it's okay in that direction. So I'm going to drag over here, and I'm off, right? So I'm going to use the arrows. Again, I'm not clicking on anything. I just wanted to make sure this is correct. And it looks like that one looks like it's off. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just duplicate this so I get the inches correct. All right, and then I'll fix the 1/2 inch mark. That means this one, is this one off? No, that one's good, but that one is not. So I'm going to move it over, and that is strange. But I'm going to focus. Yeah, line's good. Let's move on. Huh, that one's not. I guess it was off completely. Let's make sure that we're doing this correctly. Yep. In case you didn't see what I did, I clicked on the center of the cube, and then I click focus. It gives me an exact perspective that I want for this thing. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna click on this one, click on the right, click on focus, and now I am exactly, whoa, I'm gonna move this over so that this is aligned over there. You see that? Right there at the bottom. Whoa. I'm gonna click it again just to make sure. Yeah, we're good. Now this one. You can see it right about there. Now let's see how accurate I was from far away. Wow, I've impressed myself. This one is gonna go over here. After this, we're gonna put the numbers on, and let's just get rid of that right there. All right. And all I'm going to do for the numbers is I'm going to just duplicate this one, Control D, and then I'm going to Shift. I'm going to hit Shift and the arrow key until I can get it out of the way, and then I'll just select it with the, oh, that's what I was trying to avoid. Select it with the arrows, and I'm going to do the same thing here in terms of trying to align this thing. So the center of that needs to be at the center of this one, so I'm going to move it over right there. And of course, this is not 30. This is actually just the number 1. Now I'm going to duplicate this, Control D. I'm going to hit Shift until I can get it out of the way. And pretty close, pretty close. Not that close. Now I'm going to change that to the number 2. And then I'm going to duplicate this and then change that to the number 3. And the number 3. Yeah, sometimes it works that way. You have a working ruler, but in my class, I do expect you to make this yours. Make it different. Make it stand out so that it definitely looks like yours. You can, if you wanted to, put a star right in the center and make it a hole. Group the two, Control G, and make it go all the way through. Or you have the choice of raising it slightly, so that way when you do group the two, you will not have a hole go all the way through. It'll just be there. It is your choice. Of course, you can see mine right here. I did have to put each one of these. I had to drag this over, change it to sans, and then just put the letter A here. It didn't work that time. Okay. Then I had to duplicate this. Control D, drag it down, then change that one, drag it down, drag it down. And then I had to align them and then group them. And then I had to change the dimensions just because it was way too big for the initial ruler. But here's the part that you need to decide. If I were to put my name all the way through, this part of the letter D, that part of the letter A, this part of the letter A would fall off completely because there'd be nothing holding it in place. Which is why in this case, I didn't go all the way through the ruler. I put it slightly above. Perhaps you'd like to put your favorite team. Perhaps your friend's name. I don't know. Maybe you want to give this as a gift. The options are there. Maybe you want to make this into some sort of something you hang on your backpack. You can just make a hole here, maybe not that big, and then you'll have it there. It'll be a decoration and a tool at the same time. The options are just out there. So make it yours, make it awesome, and don't forget to raise your hand and say, Mr. Amparo, I rule. Have a good one, guys.